Neil, first of all, first chance we've had to speak to you since you were confirmed as manager going beyond this season. You achieved what you set out to when you first came in. What are your thoughts now on the job that lies ahead of you?
It's just a massive challenge, really. It's just the kind of sort of job that I like to look forward to and see what I can do. Really, it's there's many aspects that I'd like to change and see if I can come up with the answer. And I'm not a magician, so I can't guarantee anything. But it won't be for the lack of trying. I'm going to enjoy it as much as I can, and I suppose. At my age, it's one of those things, a little bit like when you're a young manager. When you're coming in, you want to prove things, and I'm no different, really. I think it's nice to compete against the younger managers and see how you do.
I was going to say, where does that desire still come from, Neil?
I don't know, if I'm honest. I think it's I'm going to say the booing that I get from all of it. I'm afraid at the minute there's not that much of booing around, is there? It's I just love making players better. I like making bad players average and average players good and good players great. And there's a lot of things said about coaching at every level, Sunday League level and what have you. And a lot of coaches have got the manuals in front and they write down, I'm going to do A, B, C and D and finish off with that. But when you go into coaching or management, sometimes you can't go past A. You have to improve what they have in A before you go on to B, C and D. And all it is trying to get a little bit, make players a little bit better each training session that you have, and try and come up with an answer collectively. You don't win anything without team spirit and desire. Some of the games towards the end of last season, there were tackles missed which I cringed. And if you're going to win a league or you're going to get promotion or you're going to be high in the table, you can't afford to be weak in certain areas. So, players have got to strengthen up and take a little bit more responsibility. And it's just a thing with all the squad, really. I think they've enjoyed me being here, and I think it's one of those things they know that I'm not going to suffer fools gladly, really.
I suppose in terms of that kind of mental attitude and experience, you've already set your stall out in how you're going to address that by your first signing and bringing in someone like Grant Hall, haven't you?
Yeah, I know. The type of player that I want in areas that I want. Probably strikers are going to be the most difficult because you've got to try and get better than what you have. And looking around the people that are available for the price that we can afford or on free transfers, there's not many better than the two we've got. So it's just trying. We have to wait on certain things and trying to get players whenever we can. And we're trying to push it this week. If I could get another one over the line this week, I'd be pleased. It's going to be hard work the next few weeks because there's no let up. And as you saw last weekend with the FA Cup final, it's a strange situation at the moment. We might have all the modern technology. We might have computers telling us everything. But when you get two hamstrings and a dislocated shoulder in 90 minutes, there's something wrong somewhere. It's we've never been almost playing 12 months of the season. And, I do worry a little bit about that. So we do have to have a squad with one or two utility players as well.
How are you also finding the market, Neil, given the impact of the coronavirus?
Well, I think it's changing drastically. I think clubs are more concerned with getting rid of players off the wage bill, and players that they thought were valued at this 6 months ago or a year ago are probably worthless now, or free transfers. There's not a lot of money around, but they're still. They're still demanding figures for better players. The ones, some of the ones that you want. So I think there'll be a lot of player exchanges this year, if I'm honest. Player exchanges and people coming off the wage bill to cut the big earners, etc. So it'll be interesting. Even here, we aren't the highest payers in the league by any means now, and we have to cut our cloth accordingly. And that doesn't bother me that really. We try and get value for money. But at the same time, Steve knows I want to be successful, so it's he's doing the best he can to give me the tools to do that.
Was that something you spoke about before you signed longer term then as well, Neil? Were you looking for assurances that you would get that financial support as much as possible?
Yeah, but we've never had figures or anything like that. You know, how much have I got? I've got this, I've got that. I think Steve's very common sense. You know, you don't get where he's got in life without having a bit of common sense and knowledge. And it's one of those things that if I see somebody that's not been in my thoughts and I think we can get him, I'd go and tell Steve. You know, we're trying to bring players in that will have a value, yeah. But the main thing is to try and be competing at the other end of the table rather than where we are and score more goals. Because, quite frankly, to be the bottom goal scorers for 3 years on the trot is, you know, it's a disgrace, really, isn't it, for a club like this?
So, obviously, forwards, what else are you looking at in terms of strengthening the squad, both areas and in terms of numbers as well, that'll make you competitive as possible?
Well, you'll just have to wait and see on that. You know, I think I've already said I'd like to strengthen the whole spine of the team, and that's where I'm working on at the moment. I think we'll always be able to get sort of other fringe players, but we've got quite a few, I think, good players in other areas. You know, when you look at the attacking full-backs and the wide players and people like Tav around, you know, we have got quite a lot of excitement as well. So it's trying... You know, I was glad to get Grant on board. I have worked with him at QPR. I know what kind of player he is, and I thought it was important to try and, you know, there were a couple of clubs. I know one club, if they'd have got promoted, he might have gone into the Premier League with them. But you know, we got him, and he will become an influential player for us. And like I say, if I can get another 3 or 4 over the next few weeks. But you don't know what's around the corner. You don't know, you know, player exchanges, people, the phone goes and all of a sudden something that you've not even thought about crops up. And that's what it's going to be the next few weeks, because it's such a, you know, whereas in the past they've waited, you know, you've had a month's holiday and waited and for the pre-season coming round and then 1 or 2 deals. Everything's happening at the moment now. It's there's no time to wait, really.
Obviously, it's the playoff final tonight.
Vinny, is it your press conference this or what? Is it just for Vinny?
Am I going on too long,
Are we talking to anybody else, Dewsy, or what? I've got 10 pictures here.
Finished.
I've got 10 pictures here and there's only you. Are you doing it for everybody?
That's my problem half the time, honestly, Neil. You know, the people, I'm in the Northwest and the managers, I think, get sick of me here as well.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you just a couple more if I may. Obviously, playoff final tonight. Just wonder if that's maybe the kind of minimum target for you next season, something like that.
I don't set any targets, really. As we finish the season, I think if we got halfway, it'd be a good season, right? But I don't want to be halfway. I wouldn't be in the job if I wanted to be halfway. I wouldn't be, you know, I'd be fishing if I wanted to be halfway, and feeding the ducks. So it's one of those things that we can't accept anything but the best. From my staff, from the players, everybody around the club, and I want everybody to be on the toes, and I want the fans to get behind us as well, and really make it happen, really, because it's been, you know, we can talk about sleeping giants and things like that, but you know, we have to make it work. We aren't financially like the teams coming down, the parachute payments, which really help these teams, but they have a lot of problems when you come down. You might get parachute payments, but you get unrest among the players. You get players who want to be back in the Premier League. You get dressing rooms all shattered. You know, it's not as simple as that. So we've got a good dressing room. Like I say, we need a few leaders, and we've got to start the season very well when we do start. And the pre-season will be getting everybody together and making them aware of what minimum requirement is.
One final thing. And it's a political kind of question, really. Just looking at the championship and what you make of the situation where we're going to wait in the results of their appeal against the points deduction. If successful, then obviously Barnsley will be relegated. Suppose if that happens, that could lead to further legal challenges. So it seems it.
Oh yeah, I mean, from a personally, it's not my problem. That is, you know, I don't. I think I'll let you lads, you people, argue over that.
Thanks, Neil. All the best.
Thank you,
Simon. Morning, Neil.
Hi, Simon.
I think sort of Boro fans, probably one of the exciting things for them is that they'll have looked at you taking this job and realised that you wouldn't have taken this job if you didn't think you could make a success of it. Is it realistic to have come and fought at one end of the table this season and to be fighting at the other end next season?
Well, I think it would be a miracle, if I'm honest, with the squad and with the recruitment to do something like that. But you know, I look back at where I've been and what I've done, and you know, QPR and Cardiff were very similar, struggling one season and then you know all of a sudden. So I do back myself against anybody. I don't look at other teams and think about that club's a big club and that club's a big club. I look at managers and think, am I better than them? That's my league table. So I think we've got a good chance of being higher up, yeah.
You've touched on sort of the idea of sleeping giants and that kind of thing, but you mentioned it over the past few weeks as well. When you look at the facilities that you've got, that you sat in now, you've been in the ground, you've seen it, it is set up for something special, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, there's no divine right, you know. I think Sunderland and places like that are, you know, there's a lot of clubs in the next division that have got great stadiums. You've no divine right when you look at the teams that have been down there, you know, over the last few years. Leeds, Sheffield Wednesday, all been in that second division, or well, I call it the second division. You know, it's there's no divine right to have success. You've got to earn everything in this life. It should be like that in life in general as well. You've got to work your socks off to get success, and you've got to have the desire. And I think, you know, I feel like I've got that desire. Whether I'd lost that a little bit in before I went to Rotherham, I was quite happy to retire really and talk about it on TalkSport with Alan Brazil and have a few quid and a few laughs. But Rotherham really ignited the passion that I thought I'd lost really. The group of boys there who, you know, 6 points adrift, and it made me realise what I do enjoy in football really and what life is about. And Cardiff the same, you know, to get them out of the bottom at the end of the season and then transform them in the summer. It is, I can't tell you why it happened or how it happened, it's just how I am, and that's what I want to do here. Listen, it might not be anything like that, you know, we might be talking about leaving in September if we lose the first 6 games. You just don't know in football. But, you know, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think we could do well. But I realised very soon after arriving that it's a difficult job. But hey, you don't get jobs unless there's problems, do you? So, you know, it's one of those things. I'm in a lovely place, lovely part of the country. I've got a good group of lads. My wife's happy that I'm doing the job. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm a competitor, and I want to be the best in the division that I'm in this champion. I love this championship. I read in the Times, believe it or not. I didn't buy the Times, somebody gave it me. But I read in the Times that I've just overtook somebody from the 1930s in that level, in that division or something. 700 and odd games in the championship, which I thought was a real feather in my cap, really. 4 games to go for my 1500, and 8 promotions at the moment. So it's you know, it's a great career. I've enjoyed it, and I think fans where I've been have always, when I've left, have always thought what a decent job I've done. So I think that's what you have to do in management. You have to try and make the fans enjoy it. I want to enjoy it at my age. I want the players to go out and enjoy playing football and creating chances, scoring goals and winning games, and you know, because you know, it is too short. Everybody's so negative, and with this virus all around, there's not many good luck stories really, and we're very lucky to be involved in football. So we've got to really generate that enjoyment now for our fans up in the northeast, because you know it must be difficult for a lot of families at the moment.
Very last one from me. How difficult was it to sell the idea of coming out of retirement again at home?
I wouldn't say I got on her nerves because of the virus. You know I have tried to not splash so much when I wash the pots, and I have frumped the cushions a little bit more than I have done in the past, and made my bed occasionally, even though she does remake the bed when I've made the bed. So in a way, it was nice for Sharon to say, yeah, I don't mind. She also knows the number of times I've said over the last 15 years, I'd love to show that owner what I can do. I've been very close and always look from afar. And I always work better when I'm working for somebody that I want to show how good I am, really. And that's my challenge. I know Middlesbrough's the football club, but I want to show Steve Gibson what I can do, really. And it's nice that he's given me the opportunity. And it's nice that Sharon lets me do it.
Thank you, Neil.
Don,
Are you the written press now?
is Don doing
Hang
anything?
on, Dawn, are you doing it, Dawn?
Hello.
Come on,
Yeah.
Dawn. Hi, darling.
Neil, just going back to Grant, Grant Hall, what was it specifically about him that you liked as a player?
He leads from the front. He's a leader in that respect, and he doesn't suffer fools gladly. He wants to be the best, and a manager. I always look at the spine of the team, and you really need 8 out of 10s down that spine every week. I'm not very often seeing Grant do a 6 when he's played with me and against me. He's always been around the 8 out of 10, and you don't worry about that as a manager. That's one position. Are you with me? That's one position you don't have to worry about, and that's how I look at him. And hopefully, I can get sort of 8 or 9 like that this season.
Would you see him potentially as a captain at Middlesbrough?
Well, we'd have to talk about that. I think at the moment I've got to see what signings we get on board and how I do it. I mean, he definitely is a leader in that respect. He was captain down at QPR, so that's a possibility. But I've not really thought about that at the moment.
With the recruitment being what it is in this pandemic crisis, is it even more important than perhaps it was before to bring through your own players from the academy?
Well, you're very fortunate here, really, because there's quite a few in the first team squad, isn't there, from the academy? And I wouldn't say they're experienced lads. They're only young lads, these lads in the academy, and they've got a lot to learn, really. I've got to try and make a success out of including them in the squad and hoping that I can improve these lads to become experienced for the next lot of academy lads. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's probably the best I've been involved in. And I look around. I mean, when I left Cardiff, they said, they were going to go into the academy and use the academy. So I'll be interested to see, because there's not one academy player made a debut for Cardiff since I left. So, it's. I think this is in a very good situation, the club, regarding young players.
You've got, in theory, till the end of October to sign players, but I'm guessing you want them in as soon as possible so that when you start pre-season, you can kind of start gelling the squad together.
Yeah, I think at the end of talking about the transfer window, that will be players who aren't involved or haven't been given a chance or want to get transferred or knocking on your door. Are you with me? You'll try and do wheels and deals with players, because you don't want dissatisfied players around the place. So I think that the end of the window will be more or less thinning the squad out and trying to strengthen areas that pre-season hasn't looked as good as you thought, etc. That'll be the time for that. But to go on to what you said first of all, yeah, I'd like 3, maybe 4 players in before the end of this month.
Talking about pre-season, how difficult is it to actually organise a proper pre-season this time?
Well, we're down the line on that now. There will be. I'm sure we'll be making it public what we're going to do and who we're going to play. They'll all be behind closed doors, which is disappointing. But at least the fans can hopefully see the games, what we're involved in. We are, Kevin Blackwell, myself and Ronnie, we are, looking at what we can do, what we can't do, up at North East here, and, going away for a few days as well.
I know you've, in previous years, gone to Cornwall for a bit of pre-season. Is that still in your plans this time as well?
I wouldn't write it off.
Means a week at home, I suppose, doesn't it?
It does that week at home, yeah, and a nice barbecue.